This jet is tough as hell, and it flies awesome. Just how tough is it? Find out with me after a year of flying it. Hey there, I'm John. This is Two Brothers RC, and this is the Freewing A-10 80mm Warthog. It's been modified. It does inverted high alpha, despite me saying it couldn't in the FMS A-10 tier ranking last year, and it flies awesome. It may be the only Warthog you should ever own, too, if you can find the space for it. So let's find out how wrong I was about inverted high alpha and dive into this and see how it stacks up a year later. Let's take a look at last year's tier ranking with the FMS A-10. The Freewing A-10, however, doesn't really do this. The several times that I tried it, it was sketchy as hell, and I could only get it to kinda sorta do it really high up in the air. And the Freewing A-10 completely fails in this regard with a D rank. I'd go lower if I could, but I can't. Now, I was wrong. Very, very wrong. So much, in fact, that, I'm apologizing for it, so sorry about that, guys. The reason this jet couldn't do an inverted high alpha pass is because the cause of and solution to most of your airplane's problems is the center of gravity. The A-10 can do inverted high alpha. I know because I just showed you, you saw it, but also because I modified the tray to shift the center of gravity right in front of the main wheels, so it does what you're seeing it do right now. You know, that thing that I said it would do, even though I said it couldn't. Yeah. Those of you who watch the tier ranking, please forgive me. I am human and make mistakes. This being one of the biggest I've ever made on the channel so far. I should have pushed the center of gravity further back instead of just assuming it was fine out of the box. It wasn't. That's on me. Despite that, it flies inverted high alpha exceptionally well, just like the 70mm FMS jet does. Just like the 64mm Freewing jet does. And just like the 64mm E-flite jet does. Truly, I say, it is not a Warthog until it can perform this maneuver, despite the people who get so mad about this that they insist on complaining. F*** 'em. This is what I like doing, and if I can do this with the jet, that means you can pretty much do anything you want to do with it as well. In the beginning of this video, I said this A-10 is tough as hell, and here's why I said that. In the process of shooting this vid, I started flying and thought that a motor might be going out because it started sounding weird. I don't mind crashing if it means I can make space for the next airplane that has to inevitably be reviewed or talked about, so I decided to just send it, and I figured one of the motors might be going bad. I even performed inverted high alpha like this, and it kept flying despite my best efforts to the contrary. That weird sound you're hearing comes from the fact that I mistakenly connected a dead battery to the second ESC that doesn't have voltage monitoring. It was flying on full power on one motor and 40% or less power on the other motor. I had no idea because I'd never done this to myself before. So after I landed, I heard beeping from the other motor. I opened up the airplane and found an SMC 5900 HV2 battery that had turned into a cylinder from how much it had puffed up. Despite that, it still flew basically on one engine alone. Just like the full-scale Warthog. That's one tough-ass jet. Gotta hand it to Freewing on this one. Shifting the center of gravity further aft also makes this jet land substantially better. It requires a bit more work to land with the CG in the stock position, which is very far forward. You need more thrust to bring it down gently with the stock center of gravity, especially with heavy batteries. And you're more prone to bouncing hard, too, because of it. Or if you're like this guy, more prone to completely obliterating it on touchdown. Basically, always fly the jet down to the ground. Don't dead stick it. Shift the center of gravity further aft if you want a better landing experience. I will cover the tray mod that I did at the end of this video, but if you really want to improve your landings, don't use 5000 class packs like I did. More wing load requires more airspeed to land safely. 4000 class packs will result in shorter flight times, but will float to the ground much easier and won't require as much work to safely bring down without stalling. One major change with the center of gravity shift is that you will risk tail striking the empennage if you move the CG as far back as I did. It is not tail heavy on my setup, but it is prone to sitting on its tail. There is a distinction. If you do this mod and use thrust reverse on landing as a general rule, you need to gently apply thrust reverse. Don't slam it to full instantly, otherwise you will slam the jet's arse into the ground. It's a balancing act. If you want thrust reverse, don't slam it to full quickly, unless you like slamming the tail. As is usual for TBRC featured airplanes, a year later, the center of gravity shift improves every aspect of how the jet flies. Knife edge flying opens up to allow for wonderful passes right above the ground without a care in the world. You can fly knife edge forever, or at least until the foam vertical stabilizers break apart on you. The jet handles aerobatics better in general with the CG shift, and it will tumble like crazy if you tell it to. The biggest drawback to this jet is that the stock servos are slow. Not just that they're glued in place, but that they're slow. They're strong, sure, but they're really slow. This causes them to be nearly useless in roll stabilization, so you have to reduce the roll gain in your gyro to avoid bounce back because of how slow they move. The servos can't travel fast enough to make the wing stop rolling in a clean snap, so it looks wobbly and heavier than it actually is in the air. If I ever rebuild this jet, I'm removing all of the stock servos and using something from AGFRC for both improved torque and speed. In addition to the center of gravity shift, I also did another mod to this jet to disable the always-on formation lighting that nobody asked for. I'm not using a light controller like I did on the 64mm Freewing A-10. I just unplug and plug it in as needed. The wingtip LEDs, unfortunately, can't be turned off because they're wired to the same board that the servos are wired to, but the fuselage lights can be isolated easily by taking the plane apart and running some servo leads to a Y cable that allows you to plug it into the controller board. That way you can actually turn the damn lights off. Not only are permanently on formation lights not scale, they're a drain on the batteries and they look stupid on clear daytime flights. Here's the gyro settings that I use to fly the way that you see me flying. These are, of course, throttle-based gains, meaning that you need to follow the NX radio tutorial linked below in the description to set up your own throttle curve mix and get similar performance. If you have any questions, don't ask me on YouTube. You get exactly one reply from me in the comments below, then I tell you to go to Discord. Our YouTube comments are not a support service. I don't have the ability to keep up with comments outside of Discord, and I want you guys to get help, so hop in. The link is below. Before we wrap up this vid, I did promise some info on the battery tray. I had a leftover F22 90mm tray, I think, and I used that to get a battery underneath the receiver tray. Other people I've seen, like a fellow named Scotty on RC Groups who even gave me this idea to begin with, have double stacked their batteries in the rear tray. That works, but I prefer my setup for security with one strap per pack. Basically, there's a ton of room in the fuselage and you can easily use it by putting some wood up in there. A year later, I was wrong. The A-10 does everything every other A-10 does and then some, and it's gorgeous too. If it had better servos, it would be untouchable. This jet is something special, both in how ridiculously expensive it is and how well it handles. If you don't have one, consider getting it. We don't have any affiliate relationship with the US distributor because they're under the impression that these airplanes sell themselves, which is a position that we obviously disagree with. Despite that, you should consider buying one. It is worth the cost. Huge thanks goes out to our channel members on tworowsrc.com/supporters. A very special thanks, as always, goes out to our mega fans: Sarasota RC Squadron, Michael Smith, JR Man, Todd, N411X, Jeff Baker, and High Alpha Guto, along with our Ultra fan, TBRC fan. You guys kick so much ass, and we could not do this without you. Be sure to swing by tworowsrc.com and pick up some of your favorite TBRC merch. Coming up soon will be the E-flite V1200. It just came out and we didn't get it in time to demo it for you. It's not visible on screen right now because of that, but we're working on getting it shot for next Saturday. In the meantime, enjoy the preview of the E-flite Erratics SWS, which will be showing up soon as well, or may show up next Saturday if we don't get the V1200 in time. See you guys next week.